Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Josh. It is Saturday morning, April 21st, 2018, and I am on the last leg of my most recent Canada trip. It's about 2.5 days out and about 2.5 days back, and this time, before I get into the episode, I just wanted to tell you one of the things I like about this job. There's a few, several things I like about it, but one of the things is being able to, see not just new places, but I was able last night to catch up with an old buddy of mine that I had served with in the early '90s that lives in Binghamton, New York, and we were able to go have a meal and a beer last night and catch up. I hadn't seen him in probably 10 years. So that's one of the good parts about the job. I'm really enjoying that part, as well as other things and seeing places. I've never been to this part of New York. I chose to take a different path coming back versus the way I went out. So I'm seeing a different part of the country. I came in across the border back into the United States at this place called 1,000 Islands, and it was pretty nice. It looked like a place that you'd want to visit in the summertime. Anyway, okay, so today's episode is I think it's episode number 5, and I wanted to take a deeper dive on the topic of this episode will be leasing versus buying, and as it pertains to the truck. I've touched on it. I have some thoughts on why I think the leasing is the way to go, and just about in every scenario that I've run in my head, the leasing wins every time. Now, I know some of you out there are gonna debate this, and this is good because that's what I want. If I'm missing something, if my math is wrong, if I'm not seeing something correctly, that's the whole idea, is that I'm going to share with you where I'm coming from, and if I'm wrong or I'm missing something, then by all means let me know. There is only one scenario that I can see where the leasing does not work, and I'll touch on that at the very end. So anyway, that's what this episode's about. I apologize. I'm driving west, and it's 7:30 in the morning, and so the sun is sometimes right behind me, and if it catches through the back glass in the window, I apologize for that. Hopefully it's not too bad, or it doesn't last too long. Okay, so this is sort of the logic that I've used in determining whether or not I should continue leasing, or either buy a truck or use the truck that I currently own. And in either case, like I said, leasing wins every time. And here's the scenario. Okay, this is the picture I'm going to try to paint and articulate, and then we can talk about if I'm seeing it wrong. Okay, so let's take a very apples to apples scenario, which would be, okay, I'm driving a brand new F350 2018 crew cab dually diesel. I mean, it's a nice truck, and I think if you've seen any of the earlier videos, I've even shown it in a picture. That's what I'm driving right now, and it's a lease through Enterprise Truck Rental, and I pay 21 cents a mile. And there is a minimum. You do have to do a minimum of 5,000 miles a month, which, based on what I've seen so far, that should not be hard to do if you're doing this even a little bit. So, okay, so if we're going to compare this to a buy or a purchase, then we need to compare to an equivalent truck. So, to be fair to the scenario, you can't say, well, I've got a 10-year-old truck that I'll just use. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm really trying to just compare apples to apples here. So let's put a value to this truck. I'm gonna guess that if I went out to a Ford dealer and told them I needed this exact truck, brand new, I'm gonna guess that this truck is gonna be somewhere in that either high 50s to high 60s range, somewhere in that ballpark. I can't imagine it being a whole lot less than that. And, you know, it could be more depending on the trim level you get. This is not a, you know, an XLT Lariat or a Platinum Edition or anything like that. So it's not the fanciest. But that being said, I don't think it's, I still don't think it'd be much less than $60,000. So just for argument's sake, let's just use $60,000. It's a $60,000 truck that we're talking about. Okay. So, and I want to do this in a 3-year scenario. Okay. So we're talking 36 months, and we're going to try to bounce this back and forth and see where the benefits are, and again, why I think this works. So, okay. And we're also going to make some assumptions. One of them being the amount of miles we're going to estimate we're going to drive in a year. Okay, so just to keep it simple, let's use 5,000 miles a month. Okay, like I said, that's the minimum that you have to do with the rental. They're going to charge you for it anyway, so let's just use 5,000. You could go over that, but that doesn't really change the scenario. You're still paying 21 cents a mile regardless of how many miles you go over 5,000. Doesn't matter. So 5,000 miles a month, and we're gonna use a $60,000 truck. Okay, so year one, and here's one more assumption, which is probably a pretty big assumption, and I don't know how many people can go out and pay cash for a $60,000 truck. If you're gonna go buy a truck, I would say most, myself included, I would probably finance it, and so that basically hurts the scenario on that side even more, because now you're paying interest. But for the sake of this illustration, I'm just going to say that you've got $60,000 in your pocket, and you're gonna pay cash, which would be the best case scenario as far as money goes. You're gonna pay cash for your truck, and I'm gonna rent my enterprise truck. Okay, so after the first year, you've paid nothing in payments. Okay, I'll concede that. You haven't paid anything. I've paid $12,000, right? I pay about $1,000 a month if I'm doing 5,000 miles a month, you know, times 12 months. That's 60,000 miles, okay, at the end of the first year. I've paid that $1,000 a month, so at the end of the year, I've paid $12,000. You've paid nothing. Now, I say you paid nothing. You paid $60,000 for that truck, but bear with me for a minute. Okay, so at the end of the first year, you now own a 1-year-old truck with 60,000 miles on it. And now I would ask you, what is the value of that truck? It's certainly not $60,000 anymore. I'm going to guess that the depreciation on that is probably going to put that truck somewhere around 1 year, 60,000 miles, which is a ton of miles for 1 year. But let's just say it's worth 50,000. Let's say it dropped $10,000 in value. It's quite possible it could have lost more than that, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. So now that truck that you own is worth 50,000. I don't own this truck, so that doesn't matter for me. And oh, by the way, since we're talking 60,000 miles, I've already got a new truck, because the way the lease works is that if this truck hits 50,000, or when it hits 50,000 miles, I get a new truck. So I'm on truck number, at the end of the first year, I'm on truck number 2, and you're in your 1-year-old truck with 60,000 miles. Okay, let's go to year number 2. Okay, now you own a 2-year-old truck with 120,000 miles, and I'm now on truck number 3, right? I'm always getting a new truck every 50,000 miles. Okay, you can see where this is going. What's the value of that truck that you own at the end of 2 years with 120,000 miles? I don't know for sure, but again, if you paid 60 for it, it's 2 years old, it's got 120,000 miles on it. I'm going to say somewhere in the 40s. If you're lucky, it's maybe worth 40, 45. Okay. All right. Now let's go to the third year. Again, I'm now on my 3rd or 4th brand new truck, we're talking 180,000 miles, right? 60,000 miles a year times 3, that's 180,000 miles. So now you have a 3-year-old truck with 180,000 miles. What's that truck worth? Okay, I'm gonna guess that now we're starting to get into the 30s at best. Okay, but again, just for argument's sake, let's just say it's worth 36,000. Okay, 36,000, and I'm gonna really make my point here in a second. So you've got a 3-year-old truck that has 180,000 miles on it, and I'm going to give you a value of 36,000. I probably don't really think it's going to be worth that much, but bear with me here. Let's just keep walking the dog. All right. So at the end of 3 years, okay, let's call it quits. Let's say we want to be out of this thing. We don't want to do anymore. I hand over the keys, and after 36 months, I've paid $36,000 in rent, basically, right? $1,000 a month, 36 months. I've paid $36,000. You have a truck that you paid $60,000 for that is worth, okay, we said $36,000. So what's the difference on that? $24,000. Okay, so I think that's right. Yeah, no. I have to do the quick math on that. 60,000 minus 36,000. Yeah, that's 24,000. So let's just assume that you could get 24,000 if you sold it, and that money goes back in your pocket. So you've paid, in the end, you've paid $24,000 for that truck, and I've paid $36,000. I've got zero in maintenance, nothing. I haven't paid for no oil changes, no tires, nothing has gone wrong, and if it has, I didn't pay for it. So I've got zero maintenance costs. My $1,000 a month is just that, nothing more. In your case, you went out of warranty in the first year, more than likely. 60,000 miles. I don't know what new truck warranties are right now, but I know it used to be like 3 years, 36,000, or maybe it's 5 years, 60,000. But in either one of those scenarios, you've gone out of warranty within the first year. So can you start to see? I've had 4 brand new trucks. I've never had a truck with more than 50,000 miles on it. I haven't paid a dime for maintenance, nothing. And so when you look at it like that, I just can't see where you benefit by buying, because what you paid for that truck, whether you pay it monthly or whether you pay it in the front, the difference of what you paid and what you sell it for is what you paid for that truck, plus all the maintenance that's required over the course of that 3 years is all on you. And that's assuming nothing went wrong, you didn't have any transmission issues or anything, any big ticket things, brakes, all that is on you. I don't even think I have to pay for windshield wipers on this thing. So that is my logic, that is my train of thought. And it doesn't, okay, so I think I told you guys earlier that I own a truck and I thought about putting it into service. Well, when I run these scenarios like I just illustrated, I don't even think that's a good idea, because I think we could all agree that the biggest factor that depreciates the value of a vehicle is miles. And if you're going to run 5,000 miles a month, you're certainly going to depreciate the value of that vehicle very, very quickly. So what I'm considering doing is actually selling my truck, the one I have at home, that 2015 Dodge, that's got 20,000 miles on it, because it's worth good money right now because it doesn't have any miles on it. I don't know if it's worth 40, 45,000, somewhere around there, maybe 35, 40, but in either case, the minute I start driving it, the way we would drive it for this job, it's just the value of it's gonna start to plummet. So I'm actually considering selling it and getting out of that, and getting the money that it's worth right now, and just getting a rental, or just keeping the rental, because again, I just can't see how the math doesn't work in my favor. Then there's the element of like peace of mind. There's something to be said for, if anything was to go wrong, the check engine light comes on, or I get a nail in my tire, I don't have to worry about anything. To be able to just pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, something's not right, and they'll tell me. I'll give you an example. I was coming back from Canada the last trip, and I had a screw in my tire, and I started to notice my air pressure starting to fall. And I mean, I certainly could have taken it anywhere. It probably would have cost me, $10 or $20 to get a patch put in it. But, I said, hey, this is a rental. So I called Enterprise, said, hey, I got a slow leak in one of my tires. And they said, take it to your nearest, any near Goodyear or Firestone, and we'll take care of it. It's part of their national network of whatever. And so I didn't have to pay for that. That's what I did. So as far as the maintenance goes, I hit 10,000. They called me and they said, hey, Josh, you gotta get that thing in for service. It's due for its first maintenance, 10,000 mile maintenance. And I said, all right, do I have to come to Indiana for that? And they said, nope, you can take it to your nearest Firestone or Goodyear. We have a national account with them. And that's what I did. I took it to the one by my house and didn't pay for nothing. So when you add all that up, I just can't, like I said, I just can't see where the buying is worth it, except for one scenario, which I alluded to earlier. Excuse me. The only way that I can see the rental not being a good deal is if you don't drive it. Okay? So if you plan to do this on a very, very light scale, and you're not going to put at least that 5,000 miles a month, then it wouldn't be worth it, because you put 1,000 miles or 2,000 miles a month on it, you're still going to pay 5,000 miles worth of rental. I mean, like I said, the minimum that they require is 5,000. So that's about the only scenario that I can think of where it wouldn't be worth it to rent. So anyway, that's why I wanted to do this episode. This one ran a little bit longer than normal, so I apologize for that. I try to keep these videos around 15 minutes, but I really wanted to kind of hammer that point home. And also, if I'm missing something, by all means, let's have that discussion. And there was a gentleman by the name of Chris who had a really nice reply to one of my earlier videos. I think it might have been the last one, and he offered up some good suggestions on how to pick up reloads and things like that. And I really appreciate those comments. That really helps a lot. He's absolutely right. We talk about deadhead miles sort of being the killer. I agree 100%. That really is the game changer as far as trying to make decent money doing this. The deadhead miles, you gotta figure that out. You gotta get a reload and try not to run empty. And if you can do that, even a guy like me who likes to stay at a hotel every night, and I don't have any shame about saying that. That's just how I'm going to do it. I'm just, if I can get a good night's rest and sleep in a bed, the idea of sleeping in my truck for 10 hours, because it's a mandatory 10-hour break, I just can't get my head around that. And I just don't think I would be worth much the next day. Probably feel like crap. So for me, I'm going to concede the cost of the hotels, because that's just how I'm going to do it. But there's no doubt you could save money by sleeping in your truck. I'm just that one's one that I'm gonna give away. I'm gonna give that one back because I'm gonna stay in a hotel. But if I could figure out the deadhead miles and do the lease of the truck, I think I can make a legitimate go out of it, and you can actually make some good money. So that's it. I'm right at 20 minutes right now. So again, feel free to comment and give me your thoughts. Some upcoming episodes, some things. This is really starting to kind of unfold. It's starting to jog my mind and things I'd like to do videos on and stuff. So what we got coming up, maybe in the next episode, I did go ahead and get the ELD box, which if you've been watching this industry for a little while or been reading up on it, the ELD is that electronic logging device. It's I would show it to you right now, but I'm driving, but it's sitting on my dashboard, and it's a GPS, and it links Bluetooth to my my little tablet right here, and when I start moving, it knows that, and it records my driving time and so forth. So I'm going to dive into that one a little deeper. It is not required right now for what I'm doing in the RV transport, but the reason I got it was because I think that day is probably coming, and if I ever want to do anything other than transporting RVs, you know, like if I wanted to have my own authority or run my own hot shot type of deal or whatever, I've got to figure out how that works. So I went ahead and got it, and I want to get familiar with it and see how it works and all that stuff. So I'm going to do a video on the ELD coming up soon, and then next week I've got my Class A CDL. Sorry, the road's bumpy and it's making my voice sound a little funny. I've got my CDL training. I've got my permit right now, so next week I work on my actual driving test, and hope to next Friday have my skills portion of that test knocked out, and then I'll have my CDL, which I'll talk more about that and how that matters in this job. So anyway, hope you guys have a good weekend, and we'll catch you again soon. All right, take care. Bye.